Good evening, my friends. My name's Carpo, and I'd like to talk for a minute about the kids. For those of you who don't watch my channel, this will be just a video about kids and protecting kids. And for those of you who do watch my channel, I want to start off with kind of a pretext here. I think that the most important thing in life is to protect our children from undue influences. And though parents may not be perfect, though parents may be complete failures in the eyes of others, this is in the eye of the beholder. Parents have many different ways of raising their children, and to step on somebody else's toes or to go against what a parent wishes for their own child is, to me, one of the worst things you can commit. And there, as a passive type person, I would have no problem completely unleashing on somebody who abused my child. In fact, I don't know if I could keep myself from just completely annihilating somebody who abused my child. But it happens every day. And it's not only that it happens every day, it's something that people don't even want to talk about. I made a video even earlier, just a little clip. It was a little quick 1-minute clip from a article I saw on NBC or something. And I know a lot of my viewers won't agree with it because they won't understand the deeper context, but it was about how in California they're allowing children to go in and basically get shots without their parents' consent and without even telling their parents. What they call pop-up clinics at the schools to just get their kids vaccinated, because supposedly it's more important that the system tells children what they can have. They consider them able to make their own decisions at 12 years old, completely going around the parents' wishes. But at the same time, telling those same kids they can't vote, they can't drink, they can't smoke, they can't party. It's very absurd, but this idea that the state knows what's best for your kids is nothing new. The Catholic Church has a monopoly on this, and that's where I'm going with this. We in America know that we cannot let the state tell us what to do. We understand that as a society we have a certain agreement. You don't beat your kids up for no reason. We have CSD, and CSD is a very complicated issue. I do not want to see my neighbor just wailing on his kid for no reason and have his child grow up to be a piece of shit, violent person himself because he had a crappy dad who couldn't control his behavior and his drinking. I don't want to see that. And if in society that means we have an agency that protects children, so be it. I'm okay with that. But when CSD comes to somebody's door because their child was at the park by themselves without parent supervision at 9 years old, that's a completely different story. What happens is we go way too far, we go way far beyond what we need to do to actually, quote, protect kids. But all this aside, playgrounds, helicopter parenting, all the crap that happens in America with politics, with governments, is nothing compared to what happens with the church. And there are two angles to this. There is let's just say, a wealthy elite with the likes of people that you're well familiar with. I know nobody wants to talk about Epstein, I sure as hell don't, but what happened with that situation was we had a complete perv who allowed all these other rich pervs to come out and take advantage of kids. To me, I think these are the dirtbags of the earth, the worst types of people. Those who will groom children to their own needs. And you can't talk about these topics. YouTube doesn't even allow it with any type of monetization or anything. Fuck all that. We need to talk about this. This is important. I have 3 kids. One is 26, so at least he's fully grown and he understands himself. But I have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old. They're both impressionable. They're both growing up. They're both going to school, and it's hard for me to see what happens all the time at their school. But at least I know that there's other kids there protecting them, that they're in and out, and they're not just stuck there with a group of people. If they were sent off to some Catholic school or religious institution, I would have a hard time wondering if they were getting raped. And that sounds horrible, and I hate to use that term, but that's exactly how I feel. The priests in the Catholic Church, for example, And the reason I'm using this is because some of our most trusted people in the world, what we consider to be trustworthy, which would be the priests and the, celebrities, let's say, they can be some of the biggest perverts out there. And let me just say, in the Catholic Church, what came out last year, or the year before, whatever it was, they estimated that 330,000 children had been abused within the Catholic Church by priests, bishops, and whomever, church officials. 330,000, that's a third of a million children. And that's just estimated. We always know it's low. Since 1950, so in the last 60, 70 years. That is far too many children, in my opinion. I think that one is too many. When you talk about men who consider themselves to be men of God, celibate men of God, humans have urges. And if you make men celibate, if you try to make them live as, monks, as these priests, then we give them this type of status and this ideal that we think that they're going to live up to. And they don't. Now look, I don't trust anybody with my children. I don't think anybody who has half a fucking brain should. Sending your kids off to a religious institution to me is, you've got to be a complete fucking moron to do that. If you're considering doing that with your child, please reconsider. But, I think one of the worst things to come out about the Catholic Church was the fact that confessions are protected. And they've been using this excuse for decades. That, well, basically it's like this. If a priest comes in and makes a confession and says, yeah, I've molested 20 kids, they're not obligated to report that to anyone. Even when you have a psychiatrist who is bound to patient confidentiality, if you go and you tell them that you're planning harm to someone or you have harmed someone, they're obligated to tell authorities. But the church is above and beyond. And many religious institutions truly believe that they are above the law because they are at God's word. Some of these pious pieces of shit in their robes think that they are actually better and above the morals of what the average person agrees on. And I mean, this sounds abrasive coming from me maybe, and it is, but I have a strong feeling about this because, like I said, children are affected. When this was discovered and began to be revealed, instead of calling these priests and these bishops to accountability, many of them were sent overseas. Many of them were sent to other churches. The problem really isn't with the fact that humans have urges or that humans do stupid things. It's that other humans that are supposed to be on top of their game and protecting the, quote, flock, the sheep, they're not, and they never were. The church doesn't protect the sheep. The church protects the shepherds, and they think that they are the shepherds. But they also protect the wolves. The Catholic Church funded both sides of the war, and that's a totally different story. I'm going to stick to the pervert aspect here, because to me, they are some of the worst people in the world. Fortunately, I personally was never abused sexually. I never had anybody take it. Actually, if I really thought about it, I guess one of my the older neighbor kid was curious. I won't go into that detail, but now that I think about it, I guess everyone's had somebody who's older than them probably try to take advantage of them. And now that I think about it, I probably have. All of us face older people who we believe have our best interest at heart and that know what's best for us. When an adult takes a young boy or a young girl and claims that they know what's best for them, and hey, don't tell your parents about it, this is a big problem for me. And so I would say if there's anybody who's worthy of burning in any type of a hell, if there ever was such a thing, which I do not believe in a hell, it would be the priests who take advantage of other people. It would be these very religious figures. And it's unfortunate when you see that your heroes are actually the demons sometime. But it's just true. And this has been going on for decades, and it's been well known, and it's still not recognized by the church. So I have every right to go off on the church and say how I feel, because they're not acknowledging it. The Pope stands around with his stupid fucking hat, riding his little Pope mobile, with his golden staff and his golden garments. It disgusts me. It does. I really think that regalia, the whole crap, the whole thing with the Vatican and the church and preserving and hiding knowledge from other people is absolutely disgusting. It's probably one of the worst displays of wealth out there. Outside the Vatican walls, people are still trying to, make their way and suffering. And let's just put it this way. None of these institutions of religion really represent what any of the people that they claim to represent would have stood for. Jesus would probably be ashamed if he returned and saw how these people worshipped him. He'd be like, dude, get a fucking life, People who sit around saying, God this and Jesus that, half of them are the ones who are actually abusing other people. I don't mean everyone who believes in God. Don't misinterpret what I'm saying. But anyhow, I'll probably have to edit that out because that'll sound totally wrong. Thank you for listening. I'll talk to you next time. And yeah. Protect the kids. That's all I can say. Peace out.